We talked about storytelling mediums. I'm gonna talk about the storytelling perspective, and this is where it gets hot. Okay, so where am I gonna start? Retrospectively, a lot of people, at least from what I have read and heard, okay? A lot of people agreed that the story of BFA was controversial. A lot of characters got hurt as a result. A lot of doubt is thrown over characters like, Sylvanas, maybe Thrall, maybe Starfang, maybe Anduin, I don't know. Still, I think we can all agree that not a lot of characters have benefited from what happened in BFA. But guess what? Your character, your avatar, is also a member of the story. Anyway, to make my analysis more impactful, I'm gonna explain exactly what does perspective mean. Storytelling perspective, okay? Narrative perspective. Generally, the most basic perspectives there are when you're writing a story is there's the first person perspective, there's the second person perspective, and there's the third person perspective. A lot of stories that you know, especially those that are written in books, they use the third person. This is where characters and the narrator, they use the pronouns like he, she, and it when they're describing the story. However, in the second person perspective, this is where the pronoun you comes into play. That is because you, as a member of the audience, in the context of video games, the player, you are also in the story. You exist in the story as a character. And that character that you play, that's him or her. Now, a second-person perspective is quite common in video games, not as much in other mediums of storytelling. It has its advantages and disadvantages, but I would say the disadvantages are something you should be more aware of. The advantages, of course, is that you can create a stronger bond between the audience and the story, because you also involve the audience within the story. The disadvantage is it's difficult not to fuck up. There's nothing inherently wrong with the perspective, it's really how it's handled. And guess what? It was fucked up. Let me tell you why. This is the problem. I'm gonna give you a premise first, of course, okay? I want you to understand exactly what happened so that we can realize what the actual problem is, so we can embrace the full gravity of the problem. So, it all began in Legion. In Legion, specifically in the Emerald Nightmare, we encountered this boss called Il'gynoth, this red eyeball, if you remember, in the supposedly what was Un'Goro Crater, like a vision of Un'Goro Crater. And now Il'gynoth was pretty good. A lot of people, I think, enjoyed the boss because he had this wide array of whispers that he would occasionally share, and each whisper was so vague and ominous that it would give rise to so many theories. It sparked so much interest amongst those who loved the lore, and they started theorizing about, what does this mean? What's gonna happen? Oh my god, there's so many possibilities. Okay? Now, but in this case, I want you to focus on these two particular quotes. Listen.
The King of Diamonds has been made a pawn. To find him, drown yourself in the circle of stars.
Alright, so we got these two quotes. To find him, drown yourself in the circle of stars. The King of Diamonds has been made a pawn. Let's start with the first one. The circle of stars. What is that? We've seen it in patch 8.2, the Eternal Palace raid. When you open the Raid Finder tab, you can find that the fourth page is called the Circle of Stars. Il'gynoth says you have to drown yourself to find him, obviously N'Zoth, in the Circle of Stars. So there you go, bingo. The Circle of Stars is underwater. That is the area where we fight Ashara. The next quote is the King of Diamonds has been made a pawn. The King of Diamonds is Magni. When you say pawn, it means we are basically manipulating him. Next up, when we go to Ashara in the Eternal Palace raid, during the fight, or as the fight evolves, progresses, this is what she says. Pay attention.
You see the truth now, don't you, heroes? Every move you've made has been according to my will. That lumbering dwarf believed you could save Azeroth by empowering your shiny little heart. The gift of a sleeping titan. Yes, a titan's heart was exactly what was needed. Not to heal the world, but to shatter the prison of a god. Such delicious irony. The Diamond King has been made a pawn.
Alright, and there we go, that's it. Do you notice anything strange? This is actually the heart of the problem right here. What happened was that Il'gynoth told us something which appeared to be vague in the beginning. okay? However, when you say the King of Diamonds has been made a pawn, that's something you should probably worry about. Logically, what would you do? You would probably go to Magni and tell him, hey dude, this red eyeball, he dropped your name, says that he's manipulating you. Maybe we should do something about that, like, what the hell? A good example would be what I like to call the supermarket example in this case. Imagine you are an employee with the boss sitting in the next room, you know, the boss has his office next room. You're an employee and suddenly you get a phone call. You pick up the phone, some random ass voice, sounds evil, doesn't matter who it is. You pick up the phone and suddenly the guy on the other side tells you that there is a bomb in the supermarket and it's gonna explode soon. Logically, what do? You probably go and inform your boss. Maybe, and probably most likely what happens is they're gonna commence evacuation, okay? You don't know if the bomb is there, but still, there's a lot of people in that supermarket. So you probably want to evacuate the supermarket. You don't want to risk it, just in case. And this is the case in World of Warcraft. Yes, the old god said, the minion of this minion of the old god says, we have tricked Magni. He is our pawn now. You don't really know like the full seriousness of this threat. Still, you kind of want to take it seriously just in case. Just in case, okay? Here's what happened though. No one cared. Nope, not at all. That bomb threat that you got in the phone, you didn't tell anyone. You just kept that information for yourself. That's what happened. You know what that means? That was your character, by the way, that decided to keep the information for itself. This is how Blizzard wrote your character. Ergo, we, in the game, we're careless morons with zero precaution. But you know what's good? We're so powerful. Apparently, at least maybe this is how the story acknowledged it. I don't know, but we're so powerful that even if a problem happens, we can fix it. How would this play out in the supermarket example? Here's how it would play out. We get the phone call, they tell us there's a bomb. We don't give a shit. A few moments later, the supermarket explodes because the threat is real. In this case, it was real. The King of Diamonds apparently has been made a pawn, but nobody really wanted to warn him about it. But we just so happen to be so incredibly powerful in real life that we can just open our bank account, wiggle our fingers, something like this, and one day later, the supermarket is back. The population of the people who died in that explosion resurrected. We are that powerful. That's apparently why we don't care. And this is how it played out in the game. This is really bothering because it's almost as if the story writers thought that they wanted to create like this intricate, complex story revolving around the whispers of Il'gynoth and how it all culminates. But halfway through, they kind of realized, you know what, whatever, the players are just gonna go smork on all of it. And so they decided to give up halfway through. So what does this mean vis-a-vis the fact that the story works in the second person perspective? In the second person perspective, the disadvantage is that there are two negative extremes that you as an author want to avoid. The quality of your character, when you are the character, is determined by exactly how much personality the author decides to give you. Here's the first extreme. When they give you too little in terms of personality, chances are you might appear uninteresting and unappealing. Second extreme, if the author gives you too much, you might start to resist. You might start to fight back against the idea. You might be like, you know, this character doesn't speak to me. I don't like this. So when the author forces your character to act, think, feel, and behave the way how the writer wants you to, chances are that you might start feeling alienated. You might start reject the image that your character is representing. You don't want to be what you're being forced to become. Now that you know that you're a moron, technically, but you don't really care because you can fix anything, I'm gonna let you decide how you're gonna feel about your character after what I've just explained, the story that I've just explained. And this is what happened. I think we got thrown into this negative extreme of being handled in a way how I would never personally react based on the circumstances. This is not the first time, however, that our characters got handled inconsiderately. However, I think the past examples pale in comparison to the scenario that I've just described. This isn't only our character that has been compromised by this situation. Ashara has also been compromised. Here's how. Ashara as a character has a history of being a master manipulator. But what does master manipulation even mean in Warcraft? Because when you realize how almost everyone is so pliable, so easy to trick, even a 5-year-old could probably do as good of a job as Ashara. What exactly does it mean to be a master manipulator? Nothing much, apparently. So therefore, Ashara is not a good manipulator because she is good. She's good at it. No, it's because the people are dumb as fuck. Anyway, to sum it all up, here's the thing. If you diminish the value of your storytelling mediums, how engaging they are, players will have problems absorbing the story. I'm gonna actually quote one particular part of a retrospective on BFA that was made by Asmongold, Player Competency in the Lore. I may have paraphrased it, I don't know exactly how it goes, but I think this term is exactly the thing that is compromised right now, because the storytelling mediums, they're really crap. And if the book is crap, if you start to resent reading books, then you're never gonna get the story at all, or at least not as much as you would want to, or as the story writers would want you. Furthermore, and I'm probably naive by thinking this, I sincerely hope that Blizzard is gonna realize that when you're writing a character in the second person perspective, especially today because our characters, given the fact that they're being lionized by almost every NPC you cross, champion of Azeroth here, champion of Azeroth there, we're basically so deeply embedded in the story right now. They should take it more seriously now. They should respect the fact that we are so deeply integrated into the story, our characters. We will see how they're gonna handle things in the future. And also the thing with Ashara, guys, I'm just gonna say it this way. I don't think that the environment, all the people in the environment should adapt to accommodate the growth of one character, like with Ashara. Instead, the character should be the one adapting to the environment. That's it for part 2. Hope you enjoyed this video. Looking forward to seeing you next time. I'll see you then. Goodbye. Or I should say, until another time.